they're just trying to fill some weeks. So I had even kind of mentioned to Joey, I may go off script with Sunday school and just teach from the Bible and abandon the next 3 weeks in Sunday school. And I kind of feel like the Lord said, why? Because we're talking about rest, and my people abandon the Sabbath. So we're going to keep right on with the Sunday school book. So Laws for Work and Rest. We're going to be on, it's June 7th, 2026. We are on page 336. Laws for Work and Rest. We're going to be in the New Testament, or in the Old Testament, excuse me. We're going to be in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. So stay in the first couple books of the Bible. I'll try to tell you where we're at as we go, because I know not everybody has a book. But we're going to talk about God exemplifying work and rest, God commanding work and rest, and religious seasons for rest. I started reading this and I was like, what on earth? You know, a lot of lessons are 5 or 6 weeks long, and this was only 3 weeks long. And I thought, why do we even need to talk about this? Why do we even need to cover this? There doesn't seem like there's a lot of content in it. I want to go somewhere else. I was really kind of disappointed that Daniel cut us off right before we got into the 70th week of Daniel. And I wanted to talk about those things because right now, if you're coming to Bible study, we're talking about Revelation. I really wanted to cover those things, and it just seemed like the more I tried to cover those things, the more I kept coming back to this. And I think it's really important, and I think not only is the Sabbath important, but what God has commanded us to do in our lives is important. And then we're going to also talk about some other seasons that God deemed as important. And I don't think, as I was studying it, one, it's a hard topic to cover. Because we're going to talk about things today, you know, kind of like how you pray and what you eat and drink at home. You know, it's going to be one of those hard topics like that. Like, what do you do with your 6 days? And what do you do with your 7th day? Go ahead.
And that's good. Amen.
So it's going to be kind of hard. And I even closed my book this morning, and I don't know if I uttered it out loud to Cody or not. That was my intention, but I don't think I did. I closed my book this morning, and I said, these are the exact reasons why people don't come to Sunday school. Because, truth be told, we don't want to hear some of this. You know what I mean? We're just kind of living our own lives, doing our own thing, and there's some of this that we don't want to hear. And so, let's get into it. How exciting! How exciting!
If it's the Word of God,
Absolutely.
listen, if you're a Christian and the Word of God is not cutting you in some way, there's something wrong. Every time we read, we show ourselves approved. But the Bible shows us where we're not, where we need correcting. And these are tough subjects here.
Okay, so before we get into it, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Don't answer them out loud. About how many of you regard the Sabbath and keep it holy? And what does that mean? It's a day you acknowledge every week. It is His and it belongs to no one else. And it is a day that you don't take more burden upon yourself, but breathe and rest and think back about all the things you've done through the week to determine if it was good and how you would change the week ahead. How many of us regard the Sabbath and keep it holy? How many of us plan for the Sabbath? I think that's probably one of the biggest things that stepped on my toes as I was reading it, is do we plan for the Sabbath? And in order to plan for the Sabbath, you got to plan for the Sabbath on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that means you can't be putting off. Procrastination is not a word you can use, because a lot of times people procrastinate things till Sunday because they can't manage to fit it in to Monday through Saturday, so they procrastinate it till Sunday, and that's not what God gave us Sunday for, or Saturday, or whatever day your religion deems as it's a day of rest that you set aside. I'm not going to be a stickler for the day. It is a day. And it is a day set aside for worship of God, for reflection of the things you have done, and for preparation, like rest, recharge, rejuvenate, and be prepared.
Hard reboot.
Yeah, it is. It's a reset.
Changed so much in that area because when I first got saved back in the early 80s, the stores weren't even open on Sundays.
Right.
And I got caught stopping at a store to buy me a drink on the way home from church one Sunday, and was told by my Sunday school teacher, "You buy it on a Saturday, put it in the refrigerator."
Well, your Sunday school teacher is going to tell you the same thing today. Because the world has changed, but God has
That's
not.
right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
We changed with the world, it says people.
Absolutely.
There was a time too when you couldn't go into a store on a Sunday and buy anything because they were all closed.
Yeah, and the world has changed, but God has not. And here's the thing, we are to come out from among the world. We are to be a separate people. I know, this is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Okay, so along with the Sabbath, if I ask you in here, and I don't want you to answer this out loud, and there may be some biblical scholars in here, and there may not be, I don't know. But if I ask you if you celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Weeks, Feast of Trumpets, the Feast of Passover. If I ask you today if you celebrated any of those things, you know what? I guarantee you what might cross anybody listening or somebody in here, because this is the way we've been taught, is that's Jewish tradition, not us.
Jesus didn't come to abolish the law.
He come to fulfill the law. And I'm going to show you how Old Testament feasts should still be celebrated today. So, let's go. Sixth and seventh days, God exemplified work and rest. This is Genesis chapter 1, very last verse. Says, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Verse 3 at the top of the next page. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Go back to verse 31, chapter 1, 31. God saw everything that he had made. Everything that he had made. I don't need to go through creation, but what is everything that he had made? What John, if you're in the Old Testament here in Genesis, and we see on day 6 that God saw everything he made. What is everything? You go over to the New Testament, and the New Testament in John says all things were created by him, and without him that was made. Nothing was made without him. So everything, because there's nothing new under the sun, but everything that he meant and intended for this world was created in 6 days. Everything, and you say, well, I wasn't created. Your seed was started. Your seed was started in them 6 days. What would eventually become you was started in them 6 days. So everything was made in those 6 days. And if we are wanting to say, oh, that's the Old Testament mindset, you have to think outside the box. New Testament, John said, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So by God, everything was made in 6 days. 6 days. That's everything you can see. That is the sun, the stars, the dry land, the bodies of water, the trees bearing seed, fruit, the herbs of the field, the grass, the beasts of the field, the fowls of the to morph into something. The process of cell regeneration, when you get a cut, all of that, the things you can see and the things you can't see, your DNA, the way that your body heals itself, and all of that was made in 6 days. All of that was taken care of in 6 days. So it's all the things you can see, and it's all the things you can't see. And so in the Old Testament, God poured himself into creation. Long before Jesus brought himself to the earth. So God has been a part of everything we're doing, Old Testament, New Testament. We've got to get out of the mindset, that's an Old Testament thing, that's old, that doesn't apply to today. Yeah, that's under the Old Covenant. The Old Testament, the New Testament is confirmation of the Old Testament. And so where do we fall in this?
The New Testament is more spiritually in tune to where the Old Testament shows the battles and they were literally fighting enemies. And we know that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So the Old Testament is a foreshadow of what you see spiritually in the New Testament.
Right. Because like in the Old Testament, they defeated enemies that they should not have defeated.
Right.
In the New Testament, we're defeating enemies we should not, but it has nothing to do, in both cases, it had nothing to do with your strength.
Right.
It had everything to do with whether in the Old Testament you had the favor of God, or in the New Testament you have the power of God.
Right.
It hasn't, they complement each other. They do not contradict each other.
Right.
They complement each other. So, the evening and the morning were the 6th day. God did not rest until he was finished. And I ask you today, is that your mindset in going into things that you do on your job, in going into things that you do for the Lord? Do you rest in the middle, or do you rest when it's finished? Your finished works are going to be what catches people's eye, you know? And so, do you finish? God was hard at it for 6 days. He had a plan for 6 days. I have an uncle that gets up at the same time every morning, and he's got a plan every day of the things he's going to get done today. And he's probably going to live longer than all of us because he gets up every day with a plan, and he works hard every day. And I don't care if you're on your job. God likes routine. God likes pattern.
Consistency.
God likes consistency. And this is something I've been struggling with even before this for weeks now, because I do some things on the daily when I get up and go to my 9 to 5, which is more like 6 to 4:30. But I do things differently on those days. But then on Friday or Saturday when I can sleep in, I tend to want to
Do your own thing.
sleep in, and then I just push the time. But then I wake up in a panic because, oh yeah, I know, you got to be over here, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And I hear the Lord saying, where's the pattern? Where's the routine? Why didn't you get on up?
On the day you had.
Because if I don't, and I allow myself to sleep in, so I hear the Lord say, you can rest on Sunday. But here's the thing, Sunday's always usually so full of other things that we don't get rest on Sunday either. So I'm asking you this morning, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm asking you this morning to examine yourself. God wanted 6 days of work and a day of rest. That doesn't mean you have to be committed to 6 days of your job, but God wanted you up and about business. Adam's first job wasn't for the man.
No.
Adam's first job was for
God.
Adam's first job was for the man. And he expected Adam to be in a pattern and a routine and to take care of things. Are we in a pattern and are we in a routine that glorifies God? Or do we do what we want to with our lives?
This is what we do. We do what we feel like doing.
Yeah. And so if you're in here today, like me, and you're on a work schedule, do you do with your time what glorifies God? If you're in here and you're not on a work schedule, do you do with your time what glorifies God? Is there a pattern? Is there a routine? Or are you resting on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday? Or are you up hard at it with a plan? And God will give you something to do every day if you'll get up and ask. Jack's laughing, so I feel like Jack must know that God will give you something to do.
When I was 6 years old, I can remember as plain today as I did that day. We lived in Cabin Creek. Grandpa had came over to the house, and it was on Sunday, and Mom got us all up early, and we were in a cornfield. We had 2 cornfields, and we had a garden beside the cornfield. We were in the garden all day long. We were gathering corn, and had a mule with a sled, piling corn on a sled, dragging it off the mountain, putting it in the corn crib for the animals through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing this on a Sunday, and at 6 years old, I told my mommy, I said, we should not be doing this. Number one, I didn't want to be doing it.
Right.
I just didn't want to do that. I would have probably done the same thing on Monday.
Right.
But I had enough respect, or I knew enough
Reverence. Yeah.
that it said, you do not work on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We worked all day, and we drove from Cabin Creek to McGraw's to drop Grandpa off, because he had worked in the field with us all day. And on our way home, coming up McGraw's, Mom ran over the hill, hit a telephone pole. The telephone pole kept us from rolling over in the field. I mean, I'm talking from here to the road and down over we went down over in the hill, and that pole kept us from rolling. I did bust the windshield out of the vehicle with my head. And as soon as we knew everything was all right, I told Mommy, I said, I told you, we was not supposed to be working on Sunday. That's how we should reverence Sunday today.
Yeah, we don't have any. Here's the thing. On Sundays, and I'm talking to myself as much as I am anybody here, so please don't think I'm talking to you. On Sundays, which is the day we designated as rest, I know that I think the Church of the Holler here does Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And that's like, let's not argue about that. You know what I mean? You're doing it on Saturday, I'm doing it on Sunday. Okay? Let's not argue about that. But I also think it's important, because if they're doing it on Saturday and I'm doing it on Sunday, then that comes back to, well, what day can the convenience store be open?
Right.
Because if they ain't supposed to be open on Saturdays because it's their day, and they ain't supposed to be open on Sundays because it's their day, then we're kind of creating a problem here. And this is where the churches have split hairs, and we should be all in the same mind and about the same vision and same goal, because we're just making it harder on ourselves when we do split hairs like that. But anyways, what is it that you have to do on a Sunday? And I have pulled in from church before and looked at the grass and thought, my goodness, Cody, he's like, man, this grass has got to be cut. And I say, I know. And I've even went as far as to go get my clothes on, because I cut the grass. I love to cut the grass. I even went as far as to get my clothes on and go cut the grass, and just hesitated, because all I can think of is, you're right here on the main road. What are people going to think when they see you out here working on a Sunday? When your neighbors are looking at you and saying, well, what is she doing? And then they see me saying, well, I had so much going on this week that I didn't get my grass cut. And that is a compromise. So why is it okay for me to feel done. So then therefore, I'm like, God, you understand that I've got to do. And he's like, yeah, sure, I understand that you have filled your schedule up so full. Or that you have spent time resting in them 6 days when you could have been doing the work you needed to do. Rest on the Sabbath. Keep the Sabbath holy. Consecrate the Sabbath. Chapter 2, verse 1. It says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished. It was done. He completed his work. He had nothing left over. He didn't still, I have done everything, but I need to come back and mow that grass. He's done everything he needed to do, made the best use of his time. And it says, and all the hosts, it says, I want you to understand this because I think this answers a question that we have. You know, people have said, well, if Adam and Eve were the first people that God created, and they bore Cain and Abel, how did Cain go over to Nod and pick somebody to marry him? Where did those people come from? You ever thought that? You ever thought that question? Where did those people come from? Well, I think they came from the same place Adam and Eve did. And I think they came at the same time Adam and Eve did. It says in chapter 2, verse 1, the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. What does host mean? Host, I looked this up in terminology, biblical terminology. I use Blue Letter Bible to look this up. And this word, host, is defined as a mass of people or an army. That's the word that's often used for a mass of people or an army. So the host, not only was the heaven and earth finished, but all the hosts of them. And so I believe that the angels were complete in heaven and the people on earth were complete. Chapter 2 then goes in to tell you the specifics about a man named Adam. And on the 7th day, this is why I don't want to teach this.
That's good.
And on the 7th day, God ended his work, which he had made. Ended.
Whether you know it or not, you're answering questions for people that don't know, that has been asked the question. These questions, so don't get discouraged. Like God knows what he's doing.
Okay.
I might clean the house somewhere on Sunday now.
Man, this whole thing, baby.
I love you, Jack.
At least he's honest.
Well, he can do it for the week now.
Yeah, he can. He can.
Don't put it off
Today.
tomorrow.
What you can do
Could be
today.
done today. Yeah. It says in verse 3 at the top of the next page, and God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it. Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you think that after 6 days of creating everything, do you think God was tired?
No.
So God didn't even need
Day of rest.
a day of rest.
He's thinking about it.
It was so good. It was just so good he didn't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
Think about it. God spent 6 days creating everything and has never had to recreate anything. Like, at that time, who knows how many people was on the earth, but we know that there was 2 with the Spirit of God in them. And he created enough oxygen for that many people, but it was sufficient enough for 8 billion people today. So God has everything. Like, he's never had to recreate an apple tree or recreate nothing because, like, it was sufficient in and of itself.
Okay, so we are all in agreement that God did not need to rest. And that we are all in agreement that everything he needed to create was done by day 6. So why didn't he just give? And I heard Dad say, because he was thinking of us. He set a pattern. I want you to get up, and I want you to complete the task. You have 6 days to complete the task. I want the 7th one. And he didn't want the 7th one just for him. He wanted the 7th one for you. It is, I'm convinced in a routine. If you get in a routine, eating, waking, resting, if you get in a routine, as soon as you leave that routine, what knows it?
Your body. That's why I hate swing shift.
That's why, exactly. It's terrible. Swing shift is terrible because your body never gets in a rhythm. And it throws off your mood. It throws off your eating habits. It throws off everything because you're never in a routine. God wanted us going to bed, raising up. That is why he said separated night from day. He wanted us working 6 days, and that's not just at a job. He wanted us accomplishing all the things that needed to be done in our house and whatever work we were doing, because Adam was tasked with work. We're getting ready to talk about that. He wanted us to accomplish all of those things in 6 days, and what we don't accomplish can wait till day one of the next week. If we're like him, we'll finish it. But we're also human and don't finish it. But regardless, do not use that time against the Sabbath day. Keep the Sabbath day. Excuse me. It says that God blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it. He blessed it and set it apart. It was a demonstration to us of the work ethic he expected of us. Just like Jesus goes to the Jordan, and John the Baptist says, I need to be baptized of you. And he said, suffer it to be so now. For it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. Jesus had no need to be baptized. But he did it because that's what he expects of us. God had no need to rest. But he did it because that's what he expects.
That's one thing I wrote about the Old Testament and New Testament. It always gives you what God did and what Jesus did. He gave you examples of how you should be.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you think that having the, isn't it hot in here or is it just me? Can you turn the fan on? I don't know. They're probably freezing.
No.
Okay. There's a cover
We're not hot.
up here. If y'all are cold, I'm so sorry. But everything that there's an example of in the Old Testament, there is a fulfillment of in the New Testament.
Well,
Nice.
can you imagine, I mean, we go through a week, just 1 week, and what we do through the week, and, you know, I can get busy, and I've been busy for the last week, busy every day, working on something, just trying to, okay. And, you know, you really don't, when you're really busy, you're really doing the work that you're doing during the day, you really don't have time to think a lot about God. Now, I might be out there on a boat, Carrie kills me. I might be out there on a boat, and you know how y'all sing songs over and over and over.
Yeah.
And Carrie, by the way, it's a good kill. I can be out there working, and I'll be singing repetitively, just something over and over in my mind. But you really don't have time to think about God and be thankful and grateful of what he had done for us. He was really busy that way, and he knew that in human life that we were going to work 6 days, and there was not enough time for us to really concentrate or think about him during the day, that he gave us the 7th day to rest and really petition God or seek God on that day for the things we need. You know?
Yeah, and I think too, like I know what you're saying. I think about Kelly or whoever's delivering the work today, and I think about the work that I put into this and delivering it. Like when I leave here, it's exhausting. I think about the work we put into worship up here, and I know that this is probably what he was referring to. But think about how much effort is put forward this platform to get you to worship. Now make no mistake about it. Your worship does not have to look like, mine might look like this.
Right.
Or mine might look like this. But your worship should look like something.
Absolutely.
And all this is an encouragement for you to sanctify this day. The reason we're here is to worship God. And so your rest will come in Him, first of all. And your rest can come later. But first let's sanctify it. First let's bless it. First let's worship Him and reflect about what He's done. And so when we're up here encouraging worship, it shouldn't be, you're tired. I get it. I'm tired. We're all tired. But it should be movement from you, other than your normal self.
Right.
I've had a rough time on my kids here lately. I literally about jerked Shelby's hair out of the back of her head the other day because she's laying here asleep on the front row. Why? Because I never let her go out on a Saturday night. And what did I let her do? I let her go out last Saturday night because she's getting older. I'm trying to give her some freedoms that I've never had to give her before. And I let her have a Saturday night where she got to stay out with her friends late. She had a parent with her, but that was two girls' birthdays. She wanted to go with them and go jumping and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm like, okay, but you're going to church the next morning. And she's always eager to go to church. But you know what I saw that next morning?
Wore out.
She didn't even feel like being here. And I said, well, then this won't become a habit. Because you're usually excited to be there, thrilled to be there. We all got to learn these lessons, okay? We all got to learn these lessons.
I think when y'all create the atmosphere of worship, I think it not only gives us an opportunity here to worship
Oh,
God
yeah.
while we're here, but just like I was saying about Carrie, I go around through the day singing.
You can hear Carrie singing that
Sing
in your head.
no ordinary worship, sing no ordinary song. I just over and over and over because Carrie sings it, and I really get into it here, but it's still on my mind throughout the week.
And I think sometimes too, like, the people we're singing to we expect their worship to look like ours. I don't. Like, God might send one running, and God might send one shouting, and God might send one speaking in tongues, and God might send one like this.
Right.
Face down on their chair. It does not have to be the same. But what it should be is different. Different.
And it should be
Different.
collective.
And it should be,
collective. All of us together, doing it in our own individual way, like as unto God. Like we all have the same blood saved all of us, but we all come from different walks of life, different raisings, different jobs, different everything. That's why it is important to understand that your worship don't have to look like mine.
right.
But
It should look different than Joey looks every other day.
absolutely.
Worship should look different on Joey than, I mean, if Joey's acting in the flesh this week, and then Joey's also in here worshiping, those two should look different.
Absolutely.
They shouldn't look the same. If he's acting in the flesh and he's mad at somebody and he's got a mean old scowl on his face, he shouldn't be sitting here worshiping
Right.
with a mean old scowl on his face. It should look different. Worship should look different.
I think it builds up from the week
Yeah.
of what our Lord's done for us.
And it takes preparation.
That's
To
why I
come in
love-
here to worship takes preparation.
That's why I love this church. When there's true worship in here, it's as one body. There's nobody doing the same thing, the same worship,
We're all doing it collectively.
but we're doing it together.
Amen.
Fourth commandment, we'll move on. Exodus chapter 20, this is verse 9. So Moses is the same writer in Exodus as he was in Genesis. 6 days shalt thou labor and do. Somebody want to read that word out loud? Anything you got needs to be done, do it in 6 days. All. Go ahead.
My dad always used this excuse. My dad is one of the hardest workers there
always say that there was a woman one time who always asked for money. And my thought was, if you're always asking for money, then you need to make a change.
Yep.
That's hard. That's hard. That's hard for me to say that. But if you can't cover your bills, and I know we live in a terrible society right now, but if you are always asking for something, and I'm not saying like if you're trying to do something for somebody else or whatever, that's between you and God. But if you are always doing something,
You're always broke, something needs to
you
be
have to
done.
reevaluate your
Absolutely.
lifestyle. Period. And if you're always working on a Sunday and getting your ox out of the ditch on a Sunday, you need to reevaluate because
Right.
you're not doing the work you need to do through the week in order to be prepared and ready for Sunday. So verse 11 says, "For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and hallowed it." What does rest mean? Maybe that's the question on your mind this morning. If my ox is stuck in a ditch, that's an emergency situation. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, if you have a flat tire coming to church or going home from church or
You
whatever,
always-
you're going to go and change your flat. You're not going to put it off tomorrow.
Okay.
Don't have to be all going on Sunday.
Right.
Well,
You don't have to be mowing grass on
that's what,
Sunday.
Dad said, he done gardening, tired, planting on the Sunday.
The whole garden died.
The garden died.
Yeah.
He replanted on a Tuesday, and everything flourished.
Yeah.
He goes, "I'll never plant on a Sunday, cause I could have done it during the week."
Okay, so you shouldn't be hoeing your garden on a Sunday. You probably shouldn't be mowing grass on a Sunday. See what I'm talking about? This is like the energy drink and how you pray. Like, I just kind of feel like I'm getting into people's business.
You
here.
are, that's all right.
You shouldn't be hoeing corn on a Sunday. You shouldn't be mowing grass on a Sunday because those are all things that you could fit into Monday through Saturday. But I'm going to tell you that you
Go
shouldn't
ahead.
be cooking on a Sunday.
Come on. Come on.
And you probably shouldn't be going to eat on a Sunday. Because you're forcing someone else to do labor. Oh my God. What you do now? What's that? My God.
It's okay, this is stuff that I grew up on my whole life hearing.
Yeah.
This is what I was taught, and somewhere along the way, we grew
Compromise.
away from it. And you know, and this is why we're sick, and we're stressed, and
Right.
we're anxiety ridden, and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just constant go, 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 go.
Yeah.
This is stuff that we got away from.
It's good.
We went camping a couple weeks ago, and this was supposed to be just a minute where I didn't have nothing to do, and I came home and I said, "Mom, I feel like we just worked the whole time. I feel like all we did was cook and eat and cook and eat and cook and eat, and I don't feel like I sat down 1 second. I don't want to do that again because I didn't even get to rest. And I know that this is hard because it's hard for me. I got 4 other mouths to feed besides my own today. But there was a time where we made preparation on Saturday for what we were going to eat on, and that's biblical. God rained manna down from heaven for 6 days, and He gave them instruction on days 1 through 5 as to what they should do. Go get what you need for today. Go get what you need for today. Go get what you need for today. But on the 6th day, He said, go get what you need for today and tomorrow. And you are going to eat what you got today, tomorrow. So I wonder if we're saying we're not seeing God move because we're not praying enough. And I pray and I fast, and I still am not seeing the things I want to see. God, what am I doing wrong? And I keep coming back to, it's not about, remember the Sabbath. That's the basic. If you love me, He said,
Testament, they did eat leading up to Passover, or not Passover, but Sabbath. And then a lot of them on the whole Sabbath day did not eat. They fasted from sunup to sunup. So from sunup to sundown, wasn't that how it went? Like from
Sundown.
sundown to
sundown.
sunup. Yeah, that's what I mean.
So from Saturday sundown,
They
because
went
the
24-hour
evening in the
period without
morning, were the first day. So they went from Saturday evening through Sunday evening without eating.
And we wonder, we look at the church of Acts, and we know it as the Acts of the Apostles, but the Apostles couldn't do that. That was the Acts of God. And we wonder why they were so effective, and the church grew so exponentially. I'll tell you why. Did you not know that those guys that grew up in Jewish custom, they fasted 2 days a week, if not 3. And they kept the Sabbath, even though we feel like that Jesus done away with the Sabbath, and like you said, which one of you have not an ox that falls in the ditch goes out and gets it? Jesus said that. And it has given the workaholic an excuse to get out and be able to do whatever he wants to do on a Sunday. But truthfully, like you said, the Sabbath was meant for recharge, for rejuvenate. And we've forgotten it. We've compromised.
And I understand.
We talk about religious folk.
That's what
We talk about religious folk. Let's go back to the crucifixion of Christ. The religious people of that day is what crucified Christ. But they honored the Sabbath so much that their Sabbath was from 6 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock the next day. And they crucified Jesus on a Friday. They had to have him down by Saturday at 6 o'clock because they didn't want to have to do anything on the Sabbath.
Right. They avoid, and that was even conversation. We need to avoid the
Think
Sabbath.
about the Sabbath saving Peter's life, essentially. He was arrested, John was beheaded, or James was beheaded, which one was it? In Acts. And Peter, because of the Sabbath and Easter, they would not behead Peter, but they was just waiting, buying time. And that's when the angel of the Lord come into the prison and escorted Peter out, and he didn't know what was going on.
And this is a very touchy subject because Cody was once on a weekend warrior, and he worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was when he worked. And I prayed every day, God, give him a different job. Because this isn't feasible for us. We don't work on Sunday. Give him a different job. Put a different job in his path. I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not telling you what you should do, but I am telling you that God will make a way. If you want to set it apart, God will make a way. God will make a way.
We come in here and worship, and we come in here and we can't worship. It's because we're not keeping the Sabbath holy. It's because we've not got our houses in order. This is tough, but this is good. This is the Word of God.
And I want you to think about what rest means, because I know that in some of your minds you're thinking, well, rest to me is sitting back doing nothing. And somebody else is saying, well, rest to me is sitting in a deer stand watching a buck come through. Well, rest to me is perfecting that golf swing. That's rest. I'm sorry. That's rest. That's rest. Rest for me is perfecting my children's. I work all week. I don't get time to perfect their swing.
Right.
But on Saturdays and Sundays, what is rest? Yesterday evening we rested, and I felt totally guilty about it because we rested. Cody was standing, waiting, fishing, and catching all kinds of fish. My kids were sitting in the river. I know, I'm a terrible mama, let my kids sit in that nasty river, laughing. And I was sitting under the shade tree in my backyard watching him fish and watching him play and reading my Bible. And I thought, my gosh, this feels good. This feels good. That's what we should be doing. Every Sunday. That shouldn't be a once in a not telling you it's wrong for you to go fishing. I'm not telling you, it's just like the energy drinks and everything else we talk about here. I ain't telling you what is wrong for you, but I am telling you that if you are doing something on a Sunday that is putting you further behind in rest, and it is something you could do through the week, then maybe you need to reprioritize.
I work in a 24-hour care home and I refuse to work on Sundays. And she knows it too. When my schedules are made, I don't work on Sundays at all.
Well, and I think too, you should evaluate what rest means to you. And I can't tell you what rest means to you. I cannot. It's not up for me to tell you whether you can drink an energy drink or not. It's not up for me to tell. And here's what's gonna happen. I know it. We're gonna leave out here and be like, well, we're gonna go eat, but maybe it's not preach on it. I guess we probably, if we're gonna do it, don't invite her. Like, I mean, it's the cross I must bear up here, guys. And I guess that it is what it is. And I hate to be, I love to be liked. So I hate to stand up here and do this.
We appreciate you for it.
You don't do
Truthfully.
And you do a wonderful job.
And
Absolutely.
we don't just like you, Megan. We love you.
I love y'all. Because listen, if I didn't love y'all, I'd be like, well, they gonna make me.
Keep doing what you want to do. That's what they love.
Think about it like this, after you get done, you go home.
I mean, I didn't prepare it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't prepare yesterday for my mouths to eat today. So I'm gonna have to do something to feed everybody. I'm saying this needs to be a habit.
Absolutely.
This needs to be something we get in tune with. This needs to be something we perfect in our life. Mom, what are you fixing?
This is what got me. We have turned worship into work.
Yeah.
Instead of resting. Like this, I'm just gonna keep it real with y'all. In my mind, I thought, well, Sunday is the Sabbath, and that's the day that I work the hardest through the week. Because like today, twice. But telling people about Jesus and coming and getting to gather in the house of God and worship, that should not be work.
No, it shouldn't.
That should be
A desire.
absolutely. There is rest in worship. Absolutely. Is it to your flesh? Is it exhausting? Absolutely.
But it's also the best rest. That
Absolutely.
Sunday nap,
Oh yeah.
because I
It's different.
exhausted myself, it's different. What are you shaking your head
I'm just worried about what's going to cook later.
You can look at it this way too.
Don't be lonely cells, I said, no, truth and cracker.
You can look at it this way too. Did God see it as a chore when He created, heaven and earth and put you here, down the line, put you here to worship Him? Did He expect you to think that it was a chore to, to worship Him?
Well, it's not a
Him
chore to
that one
worship.
day out of
about? It's
your
what we
week.
were created for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have it all twisted, like you said. Yeah.
And that's why it's such a fight to press through. Like we've seen, just in this church, we have seen collectively the raw glory of God.
Yeah.
Like we have seen it.
And there's more.
And there is way more than what, like our eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and neither has it even entered into our heart. And I want you to move on, but if we've seen it once, why is it such a chore to see it every single time that we gather
Right.
together? Because that's what God wants, ultimately. Like, God's not going to withhold it from you, but the only thing that stands in our way from seeing it over and over and over again is us.
Mm-hmm.
What's really funny to me is last weekend, Jack was going to go cut some grass for someone who needed it. And he didn't have time all week. So Sunday morning I wrote him on Facebook and I was like, Jack and Connor's gonna come out and cut your grass. Well, while we were here, she wrote me, she's like, not on a Sunday. And I was like, okay. And she said, he will not allow that. Like, he's always kept Sabbath. And he doesn't even go to church.
Yeah.
But he was not gonna allow it, so he wasn't able to go. And then you teach on this, so that tells me that this is very important to God. And I all understand this.
Yeah, and to like, another thing, we all frequent things on Sundays that are open. Your employer is open on a Sunday. And Cody has worked at a place where an employer was open on a Sunday. God can change that.
Guilty.
God can change that.
Guilty of driving by Pinnacle Drive-In on a
And saying-
Sunday, saying, if they would just open on a Sunday.
We have more options.
Well, no, thinking how much business are they losing
Yeah.
because they're not open on
And
Sunday.
do you know they did a study, Chick-fil-A did a study, and they actually make more money by being closed on Sunday than they do anything.
Because you know you're limited. You got 6 days to get there to eat.
And you've got restaurants who are open on Sundays, and we've actually, throughout the week, on days that we've had off, been to a restaurant, and her waitress say, I would rather not work on a Sunday, because sadly enough, church people are the hatefulest people to come in here and eat.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a
I
problem.
have one thing, maybe.
Okay,
I think God never intended, I'm probably gonna get kicked out of here because.
if I have a business, for sure.
This sounds really bad because, but I think it's really, I don't think God intended for us, like the husband and wife both, to have to work.
I agree.
Because like you were talking about how you didn't have time to prepare food.
What's the last job
But
was
you've
it?
worked all week. And don't get me wrong, I've worked almost 30 years.
Right.
So, but I don't think, we live in a world where we have to have nice vehicles, we have to have a big house, we have to have name brand clothes. That's kind of simple, really. That's not really, that's the reason why both people in the marriage have to work. And then.
We're chasing something all
And then
week.
you can't rest on Sabbath because
You
you're
support
open.
behind the home.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, you're,
And I think about,
and I
like,
did it too, so.
yeah, no, and I agree with you. I have always felt that way. But I also know, it's hard to even eat in today's society.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And there are ways, my God will provide, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't say any of that to discredit the Word of God or to justify me working. But what I do say is, we have made our beds.
Right.
Just like Sundays. Right now, I've made my bed for today. My kids are either going to learn what fasting is today, or I'm going to have to do something to feed them. I've made my bed for today. Do you understand that?
Oh, yeah.
So
Same thing.
if we would get our ways, commit thy way. Oh my gosh, it's going Wednesday. If we would commit our ways, then gradually we can ease ourselves out of the burdens. But it's going to come. I can't get y'all to cut away an energy drink, so I'm not sure that I can get us to cut away the new curtains in our home and the new carpet in our home in order to cut our funds back enough to get you out and working. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take a one-on-one private encounter with God for God to tell you, Angie, this is vanity, that's vanity, this is vanity, this is vanity, these are vanity. It's all vanity. And if you would get rid of all of these, you would have more rest. That's going to take God. I can't stand here and reveal it to you. And if I do, you're going to get mad at me and be like, my gosh, I ain't coming back. This is why people don't come to Sunday school. They don't want to hear this stuff.
I went a little deep with that.
But that's what I'm saying. You're right on. This is why people do not come to Sunday school. They don't want to hear that they can't go out to eat on Sunday. They don't want to hear that they shouldn't be listening to this type of music. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear those things. And I'm not saying that what you do is acceptable or unacceptable. I am saying you should seek first the kingdom of God and let God lead you in all truth and commit your ways to Him. And when you do, slowly, He's going to tell you, you don't need that. You don't need that. You don't. I don't need to. Except for to teach. Sometimes I have to touch on things to try and crack the surface so that you can now open up and ask God, okay, show me, God. Yeah.
I had somebody who's a Christian, as you know, older ago, she said, I love country music, I don't understand why I'm not supposed to listen to it. I said, I'm not telling you that you can't, But what I am telling you is that it's of the world, and when you got saved, God called you to be apart from the world.
And I always tell people, don't ask me, ask God. If you're already asking me a question,
You
you're
don't
already
know the
feeling for a
answer.
reason
Yep.
justified. Don't ask me, ask God.
Absolutely.
All right, we gotta go. Verse 15 of Adam's assignment, so we're just gonna read this one verse. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. So since the beginning of time, it was intended for us to work. We should be we're going to go back to what Angie said. And who did he talk to again? Adam. He talked to Adam. He didn't talk to Adam and Eve. He talked to Adam. There was work to be done. Toil and sweat. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, this is after they've eaten the fruit, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. Now, you won't just dress it and keep it. Now, it goes on to say, thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return to the ground. Do you know that I think Adam went, whoa. Till we do what?
Return to the ground.
Because until this point, death has not been mentioned. I think Adam was like, what did you, can you repeat that? I don't think God has to repeat anything. But I think that was part of the revelation. Oh, now we're going to die. You know, we've eaten.
But did God tell Adam, the day you eat of this tree?
You shall surely die. Yeah, because that was what Satan said. You won't surely.
Right.
But now, God has brought down, so God commanded him not to do something. And he did it, and there was punishment for it. So, you cannot tell me that God has commanded us to do something. And if we don't do it,
There's no punishment.
there will be a punishment for it. And that punishment could come in the form of your health, your finances, your marriage. Listen, there are people giving up their Sundays to, I know multiple people. One's in Indiana this weekend and one's in Charlotte because they got 2 kids and they got 2 separate ball tournaments. And Mama is always with the one in Indiana and Daddy's always with the one in Charlotte, and nobody is ever together.
Wow.
You want to tell me what?